Welcome, yogis. Happy Self-Care Sunday. We'll be working through a yin practice this evening, so if you haven't already, just gathering yourself a few items to fill the space between the gaps at home. Maybe some rolled blankets or pillows. If you don't have the chip foam blocks or blocks that I'm holding, maybe you find some books. There's something else to help support your body in space and time. Today's practice is tailored towards runners. We'll be working into the low back, the hamstrings, the hip flexors, feet, knees, and ankles. Even if you're not a runner, maybe you're a hiker or a biker or an avid outdoor enthusiast, or maybe it's just your thoughts that have been doing a lot of running around your mind. This practice will help to release and alleviate tension and discomfort on both mental and physical planes. If you're unfamiliar to my voice, my name's Hayley, and we have a 55-minute practice together. I'll ask that you find a comfortable position. Perhaps that's sitting onto one of your pillows or blankets. Maybe it's lying down with your pillow or blanket behind the back of your head or backs of your knees. Just taking a couple minutes here at the start of our practice to really arrive on our mats. I know physically your body is already here, but I have no idea where your thoughts are wandering or running in space and time. What stories you're creating, adventures you're embarking on. Just very gently begin to guide your mind back to your body. You can first notice the sensation in the physical there. Perhaps noticing where your sit bones connect to the floor, sensation in the flexion of the knees, the placement of your hands, the position of your head, neck, and shoulders. And see if you can soften the outer layer of your body. Perhaps noticing the space between your eyebrows, or if you're holding any tension in your jaw. From there, you can begin to guide your awareness inwards, following your breath as it travels in through your nose. Noticing your breath sensation in the back of your throat, all the way down into your belly, the expansion of your breath into your abdomen, the sides of your waist and ribs. And stay with this sensation of breath and sensation of body as we begin to transition towards our first yin posture. We're going to come into a toe squat, and so perhaps you find your blanket or roll over the edge of your mat to place underneath your knees, especially if you have knee injuries or sensitivities in the knees. The easiest way to find the shape is to just come forward to hands and knees, And then tuck your toes under. Really try and spread your toes out wide, sitting yourself back towards your heels. You can rest your hands on top of your knees or thighs. But if this is too much pressure into the toes, knees, or bottoms of your feet, you could bring your hands forward and place your hands onto your mat instead. If yin is a new practice to you, yin is designed to access the yin-like tissues of our body. Our fascia, our connective tissue, the ligaments and tendons of our joint spaces. And this tissue is very affected, especially in sports like running, biking, hiking. This deeper work into the fascial tissue helps to break up scar tissue, create more mobility and freedom in movement patterns, help to deliver fresh nutrients and blood flow for recovery. And help to reduce any physical pain caused from overuse as well. We'll slowly start to come out of the toe squat. You can come forward to hands and knees and maybe tap out your toes. And then begin to work your way into a dangling forward fold. Now, standing postures we don't often see in a yin practice. We're not here for a long time, just a good time. Just here to release and lengthen any tension out of the low back. And draw some awareness into the backs of the legs, the hamstrings, the backs of the knees. If letting your body dangle without support isn't an option for your spine, you could place your hands onto foam chip blocks, or if you're standing close to a couch or a chair, place your forearms onto that elevated form of support. Noticing if sensation is beginning to build or ease in your body. If the sensation is building beyond interesting and becoming dramatic, bring yourself away from that edge just a little. If the sensation is softening and inviting your body to perhaps move deeper into the pose or into the shape, notice that as well. And taking 2 or 3 more breaths here, really exaggerating your breath into the lower abdomen, feeling the compression of your belly against your upper thighs. We'll begin to draw out of our forward fold and transition towards malasana or yoga squat. You can take your time to get there and really support your body in whatever fashion it needs today. So perhaps you elevate your heels slightly with a blanket, or maybe you support your sit bones by sitting onto stacked books, or maybe a low stool at home, or perhaps a bolster. Just having feet wide and sinking your hips down towards your heels. Rest your elbows against your inner knees or thighs and press your palms together the center of your chest. If you feel that you'd rather have no props at all, that's okay as well. Always just honoring your body, respecting its limitations, and providing support throughout your yin practice where needed. The 3 principles of our yin practice are: first, discovering the shape. A shape that draws our attention, our awareness, into areas that you might notice restriction or discomfort in the body. I like to say, find your Goldilocks pose. Something not too strong, not so soft that you fall asleep, but just right for you. Our second principle of yin is stillness. Staying with access into the yin-like tissues requires us to keep our muscles relaxed and cool. So not a lot of big muscular movements here. And our third principle is time. If at any point during your practice the time that I offer is too much, the intensity builds beyond your realm of comfort, you're welcome to come out early or adjust your pose. You can also stay longer if that's what your body needs. We are slowly going to start to come out of Malasana or yoga squat and transition towards an overstepping dragon pose. Perhaps it feels good to flush your legs out by bringing your hands towards the floor and lifting your sit bones. For your overstepping dragon, maybe you have books or blocks at home to place underneath your hands and a chip block or a pillow for underneath your knee. Place your right foot near the top of your mat and then step your left leg back as far as it's willing to go. Cushion your knee that's on the floor. Place your hands to either frame your front foot or place your hands to the inside, whatever feels kind of more interesting for your body. Try to slide your right heel back so that you start to feel a stretch sensation in the back of your Achilles, the back of your ankle and your calf. If your heel is lifting away from the floor, and just slide your heel a little further forward so that your heel can stay grounded on your mat. Perhaps supporting your elbows onto blocks, books or pillows, or maybe just letting your elbows or forearms come right down onto your mat or the floor. Remembering that your shape is not necessarily going to look like the shape that I've found, and to use whatever you have available to you to find ease, not to avoid discomfort, but to find ease within that discomfort. Staying present by observing sensation, observing your breath, Taking a couple more breaths on this side. You can slowly walk up onto hands. You stretch or straighten through the right leg, reach your fingertips forward, and then step your left foot forward and your right leg back for overstepping dragon. On the opposite side. Cushion your right knee on the floor. Again, finding whatever props or support you need for the upper body, head, and neck. Dragon pose is a beautiful pose to target the outer hip and hip flexor. A lot of runners can really benefit from this release in these fascial lines. In an overstepping dragon, we're also working with connective tissue through the ankle, the calf, all which ties into the back of the knee and the foot. Even if you're not a runner, sometimes quickly moving thoughts or running thoughts can also bring tension and discomfort into the body. As we find those places, try not to struggle or fight against the sensation. Work with the sensation. Draw towards it with your breath. And then as you exhale, see if you can soften into the space that your breath has just created. And taking a couple more deep breaths. And then beginning to walk yourself up onto your hands. Stretch your hips back towards your heel, lengthening or straightening through your left leg. And eventually stepping both knees together. I'm finding, again, a cushion or something for the knees if knees are sensitive. You can also roll up a towel or fold a blanket and place it between the backs of your thighs and your calves as we move towards a wide knee child's pose. Always remember that you can take as much time as you need between the poses. And if I'm moving too quickly from place to place, you slow yourself down. Perhaps some gentle movement is necessary to release any stagnant energy that you might have unlocked or uncovered in the previous pose. If you're ready for child's pose, walking your hands forward and resting your forehead onto the floor. you could use a bolster beneath your belly or a chip block beneath your forehead to provide a little more space and support. I like to have a chip block or a pillow beneath my forehead just to elevate my face a little bit away from the floor. Feel your belly really soften in between your inner thighs here. Child's pose is a beautiful compression for the knees. It's also a wonderful stretch for the tops of the feet and the ankles, as well as we find compression into the hip flexors and space being created into the lumbar spine. All areas that, as runners, we kind of build strength, and in that strength, we also find tension. As areas of the body become stronger and tighter, it begins to create imbalances, reduced range of motion, which can result in pain as well as injury or overuse trauma. Yin is such a beautiful contrast to our fast-paced lives, no matter who you are. But this practice is especially beneficial for those of you who lead a very yang lifestyle. And perhaps you're out taking advantage of this beautiful spring weather. Notice where your body needs you here. Send your breath as a light of awareness into those spaces. If your mind is sprinting, or maybe it's just taking a light jog or a saunter out of your mat out into the world, bring it back to your body. And taking just a couple more breaths in wide knee child's pose. And slowly beginning to walk yourself up onto your hands. Remembering that you can take some counter movements between poses. And perhaps some cat-cow. Or any other intuitive movement. And bring your sit bones towards the floor and feet in front of your body, soles of the feet together, knees wide for butterfly pose. You could place blocks underneath the outer knees or thighs. Pillows could be stacked on the floor to bring the floor closer to you as you fold forward over your feet. If you feel that your body would benefit better to have no support here, you could remove the bolster and just let gravity take over. Nice big deep breaths all the way from your toes through the inner thighs and inner groin, up the back body, and then follow your breath back down the same way. Noticing as your breath travels down the back of your neck, exhaling towards the sit bones, down the backs of the legs to the bottoms of your feet. Butterfly pose is a nice way to access the inner thigh and groin, which are both very vital for the stability of the knee. Just taking 2 or 3 more breaths in butterfly pose. And then the next place that we'll take this shape is still in a forward fold, but into half dragonfly pose. So keeping your left knee bent, just extend your right leg out onto your mat or onto the floor, kind of creating a wide angle between your knees, and then leaning in a slight twist towards the straight leg side. Again, providing as much support for your body here as you need. And if there's a lot of tightness in the back of your knee, you could slide a bolster or blanket behind the back of your right kneecap. We've been talking a lot about fascia today, connective tissue, the benefits of yin. But how does that really work in your body? You could imagine your fascia kind of being like a stretchy sponge. This gentle compression and stretch that we apply to the fascia allows it to rejuvenate. It allows blood flow and nutrient delivery. And it allows the fascia to become more plastic and fluid. From half dragonfly pose, we'll begin to make our way into pigeon pose, or 90-90 pose if that's a better place for your body to be. For 90-90 pose, keep your left knee bent and just bring your right leg down to your side, bending at your right knee so that you have 90 degrees at both knee joints. If you're in 90-90 pose, you can lean towards your left toes. And if pigeon feels like a better place for your body to be, you can slowly roll your body weight over your front shin and send your right leg long behind you, perhaps supporting or cushioning the outer left hip or the torso. Observe your mind here as we work our way around the hips. It might not just be physical discomfort that we encounter. Sometimes we might encounter uncomfortable thoughts or feelings, emotions. Giving yourself the opportunity to really listen to your body speak without interrupting with a judgment or a criticism. Really just paying attention, being a good listener, and observing sensation as it is. And taking just 2 or 3 more breaths in Pigeon Pose before we make our way up and around to half Dragonfly pose with the left leg long and the right knee bent. I know that in my body, I'm not perfectly symmetrical. I usually have more of a left side tightness, and sometimes that means providing a different support system between left and right sides. Not just setting up exactly what you had on the other side and expecting it to work here. Making those little adjustments to get settled into your Goldilocks shape. Finding your breath. And softening into stillness. Slowly beginning to bring yourself back up, keeping your right knee bent and sending your left leg either into 90-90 pose or all the way back behind you into Pigeon Pose. We're in a yin practice, I guess more technically called Sleeping Swan. Taking just a couple more breaths in Sleeping Swan. And remembering that as you come out of the pose, any organic movement is welcome. Sometimes it feels good to sway the knees from side to side. We'll begin to make our way onto our spines. Just rearranging your props, making sure that you have kind of your big pillows handy, maybe a soft or small pillow or blanket for behind your head. Maybe a blanket to pull over your body when we do make our way into final relaxation. We're not there quite yet, but if you're ready for Shavasana, you could always take an extra long one. Draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a nice big squeeze. Really try to anchor down through your tailbone, through the base of your skull. Just feel that gentle elongation of your back body. Place your left foot to the floor and draw your right knee in towards your chest. Draw some nice circles with your right knee. Maybe you wiggle your ankle or your toes. And sending your breath into the crease of your hip. If it's comfortable, you can have your left leg long. But if your left leg floats off the floor, when you straighten your leg, just keep the sole of your foot grounded. From this place, we'll move into a supine twist. So shifting your bum and hips a little to the right side, and then bring your right knee down to the left side. I like to place something underneath my knee if my opposite shoulder is lifting away from the floor, or maybe stack both your knees together. If you like the option with your bottom leg straight and that feels pretty good, you can keep the bottom leg long and maybe rest your left hand on top of your right knee or thigh. If your neck is happy, you might even turn your gaze in the opposite direction of your knee to bring the rotation of this pose up into the upper back, up into the neck. If it feels good, you can bend your bottom leg and reach your hand back to grab your ankle to come into cat, grabbing its tail. This deepens the stretch into the quadricep, the front of your hip flexor, as well as your twist. So only holding that shape as long as you can maintain a nice soft breath. Observing the expansion of your breath into your abdomen, the sides of your waist. Just drawing your awareness to the physical body before you start to transition out of your twist. And slowly letting go of cat grabbing its tail, if you were in that variation, and then sliding the knees back together to roll onto your spine. Draw your knees back and towards your chest in Apanasana to reset the spine. Just pausing here for a couple of moments. And feeling for a sense of grounding and connection between your back body and the earth beneath you. Releasing your right foot to the floor and drawing your left knee in towards your chest. You can draw some nice big circles with your knee again, maybe counterclockwise and clockwise. Some circles with your ankles and toes. Eventually, beginning to make your way into a twist on your right side. So sending your right leg long as you bring your left knee down towards the right side of your body, remembering the variations or options to have something supporting your shoulder or beneath your bent knee, or stacking both knees together. We'll spend a few breaths just softening into the twist before reaching for cat grabbing its tail. Just take your time to settle into your breath here. If you're transitioning towards cat grabbing its tail, you can bend into your right leg. Reach your hand back to hold, your left hand back to hold the inside of your ankle or foot. Nice deep breaths into your belly and ribs. And taking just a couple more breaths in your twist. And then starting to think about final relaxation and how you would like to spend those last few minutes of your practice today. Always know that you can stay in final relaxation for as long as you'd like. I love to spend final relaxation with a little pillow or chip block beneath the base of my skull and a bolster on its higher edge behind the backs of my knees. It's a really nice way to release the psoas, which is a kind of our deeply connected fight or flight muscle. It also ties into the bottom of the diaphragm. So by releasing the psoas, you also give a little more space for your breath. If you don't have a bolster behind your knees, you could place your lower legs onto your couch or onto a chair. Or just bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. Let your outer body soften and your inner awareness expand. Please feel welcome to stay in final relaxation for a few more minutes. If you're ready to come out, you could transition through Uttanasana by hugging your knees in towards your chest and rolling to one side in Fetal Pose, just nurturing your body here. I'd like to thank you all so very much for tuning in with Yoga Now, for being a part of this yoga movement, for staying connected in the community. I hope that today's practice helped to alleviate tension from both the body and the mind, and that you leave your mat feeling rested, rejuvenated, and well cared for. The love and light in me honors and respects the love and light in each and every one of you, near or far. Namaste.